You're listening to Confessions of a Counselor podcast. Here we will talk all things mental wellness.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Confessions of a Counselor. I'm your host Janice, and in today's episode I thought we would talk about a question that I get around how do you do this all the time? So it's a question that I get from clients on a fairly regular basis, kind of curious about how I sit with clients and how I process the things that I hear and experience as someone who listens to people who are struggling. So let's jump right in. So this is a conversation that I'm more than willing to have with clients and more than willing to have here on the podcast. So when it comes to therapy and the job that I do and the way that I show up for clients, ultimately, how I do this all the time, right, to answer the question, is to practice what I preach. And does this mean I'm doing it perfectly? Absolutely not. Does it mean that I do it all the time? No. But at the end of the day, what I'm teaching and how I'm helping support my clients is what I believe, is how I've created the life that I want to live. And so it comes down to self-care, and not the rainbows and butterflies self-care, but actually caring for myself. So making sure that I'm eating food that feels nourishing, making sure that I'm going to bed so that I feel rested when I wake up in the morning, making sure that I'm setting up my lifestyle so that I have time to rest and I also have time to be productive, taking into account that I'm also caring for two tiny humans, and I'm a wife, and I'm a sister and a daughter. And so this comes with a friend, many different roles that I show up as. And so for me, there's lots of space, right? So clients will often ask, hey, can you squeeze me in here? Can you squeeze me in there? And for the most part, I try to do that. But there's also times where I will not, right? I will not work on some days of the week. And I do take time to rest and rejuvenate. And so it's really important for me that I have that space to unwind, to not be doing this all the time, so that I can do what I say to do, right? I can find joy and I can counteract the drains and I can get outside in nature and feel good about what I'm doing. I can listen to my kids laugh and enjoy that moment. And so it really is about that work-life balance for me, and just life balance in general. So how I do this all the time is by taking care of myself first. And even with all of that said, I love this work. I love being able to sit in session with someone and support them, talk about maybe the same thing over and over again, or maybe not jump that hurdle as fast as they had hoped that they would. But I love sitting there and processing and experiencing that with the clients who want to do this work, with clients who are adamantly determined to change their life and help them feel better. And I love celebrating those wins. One of the biggest things that I love is when I've showed up to session with a client several times over months or weeks, and each time they show up and they're like, oh boy, do I have a story to tell you. And then one week they show up and they're like, not much happened this week. And I think that that's so rewarding, right? That their work that they've been doing has finally kicked in, if you will, and life doesn't feel so stressful, right? Not much has happened between the last time I saw you, and that's such a win. And so I love moments like that where I can support clients through these really hard times, and they can come back and share the wins and share the fails, and we can just talk about life and what's going on, and we can practice skills and we can learn something. And listening to clients have aha moments around the things that I share is also one of the reasons why I started this podcast, is so that hopefully someone can also have that moment for them. So I love what I do. I make space for me to be able to support this, and I set really clear boundaries about when I work and when I don't. So that's a little bit about how I do what I do and why I love this work so much. Until next time, take care.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Confessions of a Counselor podcast is available anywhere you like to listen to your podcast, both on Apple and Android. New episodes will be released every Friday. If you enjoyed this podcast, please feel free to join the conversation. Leave a review or subscribe to the podcast hosted on the Anchor app. All these details can be found at janicelyons.com. Until next time, take care.